Because I knew that this would be the way it worked. Nope, we're still gonna do, we need our ace in the hole.
What's going on?
You can see our road.
Yeah.
I can't move on unless you have. Okay, we'll call to order the legislative committee for our March 1st, 2024. It means it's spring. That snow outside is a figment of your imagination. Because if it's March, it's spring in my world. All right, President Arhoy,
Phillips.
welcome, and we have staff. Okay, so we are gonna just get straight into it because Justin is in the thick of it and he's gonna share it all with us.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff. Good to see everybody. Real quick, we'll just start grinding away. Glad we've got our staff here to handle about this stuff. With that being said, we're down to about a week, right? So they have to be out of there by the 10th. I think they've got a target date of getting they wanted to be out by Tuesday, but I think, as Dan would probably attest, if they do come in on a Monday, they usually end up staying for most of the week. Trying to get last minute stuff settled. So everything's just kind of in the world of leadership right now. So that being said, a few of the things that we are watching, Major 110 policy fix. Trevin, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. You've seen everything that's happened.
Yeah, can you give us a little bit of detail on what the current state of affairs is?
Yeah, so I believe it's heading to the Senate for approval. They've worked a lot of things behind the scenes. The main ones, for police wonkiness, it's called the Boyd-Hubble fix. Basically allows us to do, but also for the city, it's important on this one. So it's for delivery of narcotics. They did enhancements. So it used to be within 1,000 feet of a school, we'd have an enhancement. So that is now added to, in addition to that, it's within treatment facilities. So we have a few medically aided treatment facilities. So if there's delivery within 500 feet of those, it's an enhancement. Within shelters, and that's broadly defined, it includes hotels and motels. So if delivery around shelters are micro shelters, things like that, then we can have that enhancement. And then so
What is it? It enhances it from like an A misdemeanor to a C felony, or what is it?
I would have to double check on that because it would be, I think it's gonna be, well, it's 475005, so I think it'll end up being like a B felony because it's still the delivery.
Okay,
And so it'll also depend on which type of narcotic it is.
right. What's
And then
for the record, Counselor Norman is trying to just.
and then also within 30 feet of the park. So
Oh,
that's really tight. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
It's very specific.
Yeah, so if you're close to a park and you're trying to sell drugs, then you're pretty much dinged pretty hard. And then PCS, so it's gonna go from the unclassified violation to an unclassified misdemeanor, which essentially makes it an A misdemeanor for most charges. So it keeps people from having the additional punishments that go along with any kind of felony arrest. But it allows enough governmental interest that it allows us to take action on those incidents so that we have more tools at our disposal as well when we're investigating those crimes, as opposed to when it's a violation, and that really limits how we can go after those incidents.
Theoretically punishable by up to a year in jail.
Yeah, so they've got a bunch of different buckets with that. So once that takes place, 180 days in jail, probation for 18 months with other structured sanctions. So if they violate that probation, 90 days, 30 days, which is pretty typical. And then the violations will be 30 days in jail. And then revocation of your probation, you just go straight back to jail. And then let's see what else we got on there. Really, those are the main ones. And then the deflection, prearrangement diversion. So what's nice is they took away the shall. So now it's if we want to enter into those programs, we're up and running, or we'll be on the forefront of that because we already have Marion County's law enforcement assisted diversion. So if we want to participate in that, or it becomes a little more robust to meet the qualifications for this, we'll be able to meet that rather rapidly if we're there, because we already have kind of the foundation in place for that deflection. So that's going to be a post-arrest diversion as opposed to a pre-arrest diversion, which lead is now, or kind of the same time. So if we make that arrest, it gets sent over, if the person wants to agree to be in the deflection program, it gets sent to, I'm assuming for us, it'll be Marion County Lead. They enter that program, complete their treatment and program requirements, and then that whole case can be sealed and expunged immediately once they've completed that program. So it's a pretty good way to help people that are in that addiction crisis, not just with the punishment side of it. So it's the carrot portion of it. And Lead's really robust, and those the Lead navigators do a great job. So I'm excited to see them to also get funding out of this, or I think the other bill, and then be able to enhance that program. So that'll be good. And then we're already partners with them, so it's not going to be tough for our police department to work on.
Great.
And then it's a bunch of different expungements, and that gets pretty technical. That'll be good too, because if a person strictly has an addiction issue, right, this won't follow them for the rest of their lives because they're at a low moment, you know, at a point. So that helps out too. And then it also has some funding in there and expansion of welfare holds, which goes from 48 to 72 hours, which really doesn't affect us as a city because we're not providing the centers or really controlling once they land at a treatment facility or the hospital. So.
And Justin, back to the politics of it, it seems to be bipartisan support at this point, so it's looking fairly promising.
Yeah.
Only 7 no's.
Came out of 7 no's on the actual policy bill and only 2 no's on the funding piece. The second part of that, Senate Bill 5204 is a big package. I mean, a big funding package, $211 million. So I'd say that's encouraging, and now it's just a matter of what the other chambers can do with it. So
Okay.
I think that's what gets them out of the building this time, not the governor's housing bill. So
Yeah.
Does
good.
this change get us to a place where people can get treatment easier? Or is it only talking about recriminalizing it?
Well, it brings back into the equation one mandated treatment through probation without kind of the unintended consequences of the felony conviction. So we'll have that mandated piece of treatment, which was lacking when ballot measure 110 went away through probation. And then also if it throughout the statewide, if it creates these more robust deflection programs, then a person that's ready to enter into treatment after that contact, there's, like I said before, not only that they get the help that they need, it can lead to an expungement of that charge. So it's creating an on the street, for lack of a better terms, entryway into treatment versus here's a ticket and you're in the, you know, the grip of addiction, please call a phone number and see if things work out. With the deflection program, as we have now with Lead, it's a personal navigator to help them out. They get into that program, someone's going to walk them through that. And so when they're ready and holding their hand out, someone's going to be there to take it and get them where they need to go. So I think, and we've seen success with Lead. I think by having that piece come alongside the recriminalization and the ability to have that contact and modify that behavior, I think we're going to see some more people that, you know, will accept treatment a little bit easier.
The issue remains, however, is their treatment capacity. So people can access it, but is it available? That'll be the question.
And with the deflection, if they enter it through the deflection program, those navigators having that understanding of the process is really that brings down that barrier, as opposed to someone calling a hotline and saying, hey, I'm ready for treatment. And they're like, okay, cool, go to this appointment. And then they're off and running, as opposed to having someone that's like, hey, you've got an appointment to go to treatment. Let's drive you there. Let's get you there. That's kind of how Lead works now. I mean, they're currently, they'll find people treatment beds throughout the state and get them to where they need to go. So I think it's going to end up having more positive effects than what we've really seen up to this point.
Yeah.
Just quick, Justin, what was the money you mentioned for the 200?
Yeah, so, yeah, and looking at 200, that comes out of the general fund. It'll address public safety, behavioral health, drug addiction prevention. 85 is for shovel-ready behavioral capital projects, addressing system capacity. 80 million for public safety issues, 17.6 for prevention activities, 8.8 for behavioral health workforce training and safety, 18.8 for more behavioral health enhancements, et cetera, through certified community behavioral health clinic programs, and then restoration services and jail-based medication assistance.
Just a question. So that money then is going to be sent to counties to distribute or build infrastructure?
I don't know how that money's gonna get sent.
It's probably a combination of probably some of it will be through counties, but some of it might be direct to providers. So it'll be a combination. You'll have to really get into the weeds.
I don't think the city will see
No,
any of that funding directly.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. They don't like to give us money. But I was just trying to figure out if there was some kind of shall in there for the people who are supposed to be building the infrastructure. Question mark. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm making that, so we'll follow up with you.
Anything else on Measure 110 fix?
Awesome, thanks, Drew.
Yeah.
Okay, speeding right along, bills that we've been watching. We had a watch on House Bill 4037, gender affirming care. We had a request from Legal Mart. I don't know much about it, no legislative action, so we'll keep this on our list. We'll look at what's coming up next session with that. Next, 4045, classification under PERS. Mark, I think you were also looking at some of that stuff. Moving to the House for a vote.
Come on, Mark.
Basically modifying PERS pension benefits related to police fire.
It was gonna be, I think it was gonna make dispatchers and somebody else, I can't remember which one it is, DAs.
Yeah, and
It
then
was-
lowering the retirement age for officers.
Okay, and is that moving or is that, where's that at?
Yeah, it moved out of Ways and Means and it passed full Ways and Means, it's heading to the House floor, so we'll see. some
Okay.
action real quick on that. The PFAS, Courtney, okay.
Do you
let's
want to
move
talk
on.
about PFAS?
I don't, it moved through Ag and Natural Resource, it's sitting down Ways and Means, so we'll see what happens to it.
Moving so far, and we all know when we wrote a letter of support, so yay.
Yep,
But PFAS is gross.
yeah. 4067, electric micro mobility vehicles. I think we talked about this a little bit in the past. Moved through joint transportation. It's a waiting assignment down in Ways and Means. 4072, which is our representative.
Justin,
sorry.
do you wanna talk
Was that
more
the
about-
one that I emailed you about?
Yes.
Okay,
No, there's another one in there.
there's another,
We're
that's
coming
the
to
one.
4103
Okay,
in
good.
a minute.
Sorry, there's,
Okay.
Yeah. Anderson's payment in lieu of taxes bill was heard. Mayor Hoy testified. We submitted a letter of support. It's just sitting, awaiting a work session in revenue.
It's dead. Let's just be honest.
Okay, moving right along.
But just remember, we didn't put all of our eggs in one basket, but that's all, I believe is dead.
That's probably a good synopsis.
oh,
Synopsis. 4075 and HCR 201, which were relating to public safety from Representative Evans. Those bills are not moving forward this session. That was another one we were watching. Okay, House Bill 4103A, which means it's been amended, has passed the House, 59 yeses, 1 no. This modifies the definition of e-bike and adds in this new class 1, 2, and 3.
And restricts use. This is the part that bothers me. Restricts use, I think, for anybody under 16 years old for an e-bike.
Personally operated.
What
What
I
do you
just,
think, Julie?
Yes, it basically says, if you are 16 years or older, you may operate one, which I believe means that if you're under, you may not.
Yeah, person may operate class 1, 2, 3 electric assisted bicycle without any grant of driving privileges if you're 16 years or older.
so I am opposed to this bill. My question is, this is coming out of a reaction to a very sad story about a kiddo in Bend who was struck by a car and died. I don't know much more of the details on this. I don't necessarily need to know more of the details. I just don't necessarily think that this legislation is going to save more people's lives. I think it is going to add hurdles for people who are trying to ride bikes as a way of transportation. To me, a better piece of legislation would be building out fully protected bike networks or other things. For me, I just struggle a lot with this one.
My understanding was that the original version, any age could ride the class 1, and then it got amended to lump them all together.
And the city of Bend adopted a local ordinance limiting to 16 years or older.
I
Interesting.
would oppose to that as well.
It seems to have quite a lot of support just based on the voting record.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the bike advocates are pretty hot about this one, so I'm coming at this from my bike advocate point of view, but.
Does it do anything for e-bikes like on paths and trails in parks? That's the
That's-
thing I hear most
yeah.
about. It's
Right.
like,
It's a very minimal bill, and then that other task force bill is the one that, you know, they trying to get a task force to really come up with, I think, you know, more laws or regulations.
so I'm sorry, can you circle, what's the status of this bill? I missed.
It's scheduled today for third reading, so. So
It
it
seems.
came out 59-1,
Whose,
the House.
whose bill is this?
It's got levy mechanics, it's got levy.
Yeah, Mannix, Wynn,
Oh, here's.
Reschke, Levy,
Okay.
Levy.
That's the,
Everybody.
And it just, I think it's probably motivating that story.
Counselor Nordike?
How fast can an e-bike go?
I think it varies depending on which class it is.
Yeah, the class threes go 28 miles an hour.
Well, class 3 will assist you up to 28 miles an hour. If you're going downhill and pedaling really well, you could go faster than that. You know, just like any bike, so.
Without assistance.
Right, right. So the class 1 and 2, it limits to 20 miles an hour assistance. I think class 2 are the ones where you don't actually have to pedal.
Right.
I always find it weird. I would think that would
I
be
know.
class 3, but anyway, class 1 and 3, you have to pedal. Class 2, you don't.
I mean, I guess my big beef with this is it doesn't do anything to stop what happened from happening again.
Yeah, I don't.
It doesn't
I'm not
get.
sure I
that's the
understand
problem.
the
And I feel like it goes against our goals as a city for climate action and for multimodal transportation.
What the city of Bend was seeing was literally, you know, dozens of unattended youth riding e-bikes on sidewalks and pretty indiscriminately throughout the community and in an unsafe way with passengers on the vehicles and at night and, yeah.
Okay. Counselor Nordike, your hand is still up. Are you still?
Yes, I wasn't finished. So it sounds like e-bikes, I didn't hear a clear answer for maximum speed. Is maximum speed 28? I know we heard downhill. I don't care about that because I don't care as to whether it can go as fast as a regular bike without speeding. So, but it sounds like 28 miles an hour is what potentially is the max with assistance. I'm just trying to figure that out. How fast can these things go? Because the faster they go, the more dangerous they are. And the more dangerous they are, the more it makes sense to have a basic age restriction, the same age restriction that we have for driving a vehicle.
So yeah, the class 3 can go up to 28 miles an hour with assistance, class 1 and 2 up to 20 miles an hour.
Right. All right. Well, I'll agree to disagree with my fellow counselor here. I think that a 16-year-old age restriction strikes the correct balance between safety issues for minors and for others who are learning how to navigate our roads. The fact that we have e-bikes and are creating bike infrastructure is all well and good, but I agree with holding our 16-year-olds to the same requirements and as getting a license to drive. So I don't think it's contrary to multimodal transportation. I think you still have to have public safety restrictions, and makes total sense to me. I can see why it has so much support and only had one no vote in the legislature thus far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on this bill? Because it sounds like our opinion is irrelevant. At this point, it sounds like it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And for next session, it may be something that if we can come to agreement about where we might wish to form an opinion on behalf of the city, we could consider some kind of fix.
And did you say something about a work group? Or is that not a thing?
Yeah, there's
There's another bill that has a work.
That's the other one you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, the other one is 46-7.
And they're working on all those different challenging things like park paths and how do we all live together, which is, I'm fully supportive of.
That sounds like we want to engage in that working process if possible,
If it makes it through, right? It's
if it
not,
makes it right.
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it went through transportation, but it's still sitting that way. I mean, we're running out of time, so.
Probably not. Doesn't sound like it's gonna get legs this time. Okay,
Probably not. Next, 4109, Trevin, we still got you. Photo radar fix, there's like, that's 33 amendments. And I've got a note here that the fix will need further work during the 25 session. I don't know if you're-
I didn't catch back up after my initial view of it, so I'm not sure what they're worried about in the other amendments.
It's out of house transportation, so it says awaiting a floor vote. So let's see if we can schedule. it.
Yeah, when I last reviewed it, what it was eliminating our barriers to having to have officers stay with the camera at a location and a bunch of really prohibitive signage associated with it. And so it just eliminated certain ORSs that did that. So it brought it back in line with currently how we operate our speed on green and photo red lights already. It allows us to have a mobile radar station.
it's basically just a mobile version of what we already have.
Yes.
Was this also included in this bill, the one for the buses?
No, this was the bus cameras was separate.
Separate, okay.
That
I
would be
think best cameras,
It's good.
I think it moved.
Yeah.
removed. And
I think so.
logistically, I have no idea how they would implement that.
Yeah.
It's one of those like, it's good to get people from doing that, but understanding our processes for photo red light, I don't know how having that happen through a bus camera would actually work in the video system. Be difficult.
Okay, House Bill 4115 relating to employment classification of certain strike prohibited employees. We were just watching it. Looks like it passed the House 54-2, scheduled for a third reading today in the Senate. OGEC, Public Meetings Advisory Fix, the Government Ethics Commission, support with a 1, scheduled for a third reading today in the Senate. Looks like that's going through. Funding for Oregon cultural organizations, we are watching that. 27 million to OBDD, which is Business Development Department, to distribute specified cultural resources, venues, organizations. There's 150 grand in there for the Salem Parks Foundation. That moved through economic development, small business. It's awaiting assignment down in Ways and Means. Water infrastructure 4128. We were just watching, again, 90 million bucks to OBDD. That's a huge package. I don't think we'll see that coming on. And then finally, several placeholder bills with bond authorization, capital construction, allocations for budget adjustments that we're all keeping an eye on. That's 5201, 5202, and 5203. And then as far as placeholders in the Senate, 1501, program change, statutory changes necessary to implement a budget, waiting for a public hearing and work session there, or for amendments to post that could happen at any moment. We're watching the weight mile tax stuff that Julie's talked about in previous meetings. And then the big one, governor's housing package. And we have Eunice here today. Eunice, you want to talk anything about that? We've seen that bill pass the Senate on the 29th, yesterday, 21 yeses, 7 noes. The companion piece of that, same, 21 yeses, 7 noes. Those bills are awaiting a vote on the House floor.
Was there any substantive change to the details?
They shrunk on the UGB, they shrunk the size, that people could expand, cities could expand. They took a lot of the funding and put it into C30.
Does it look like it still won't apply to us? Okay, so that hasn't changed. But it could apply to Kaiser.
Unlikely, we share the UGB, and if there's some things that maybe would make it difficult for them.
Okay, okay. So unlikely to have local impact. So where might it apply?
Well, the LOC, when we all meet with all the cities, there's not a lot of cities that think they could actually fall.
Interesting. So much ado about perhaps not much.
Maybe a few.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Great. Senate Bill 1531 relating to the American Semi-Quincentennial passed the Senate on the 28th, 26-4, waiting House vote on that.
How do you impose that?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the opposition, but 1531, I got it right. Right here. And then Wes, I got a call this morning. Wes is dead. No more support for that.
I just don't get
Will not
this.
support this.
That's.
I don't know, 250 grand too, it's like,
That's nothing.
the word was not a lot of capacity to work on these things right now, so.
But the thing is, this is so impactful on our roads that we can't sustain, on our climate that we're having difficulty meeting goals with. I mean, this just makes so much sense and I just don't get it.
Yeah, just to study it. So maybe they do the studies privately, maybe they get the data and then they go into these upcoming potential transportation sessions, either in 25 or 27. Last big package was 17, so there's got to be a transportation session coming up here pretty quick. Hopefully that picks back up or somebody gets the data to be part of whatever that package is, but yeah, a little disappointing on that since we were obviously publicly supporting. And then finally, our watch on recreational immunity. Passed the Senate 25-2. It's awaiting a vote on the House floor. So
Representative Mannix was pushing for some amendments on that to expand out to other forms of local government beyond cities. You know, is that happening at all, or is it staying as is?
yeah, I haven't seen that again at this late stage and where he sits within the process. I don't know if that would be doable right now.
But at this point, the current status is this helps us with our recreational immunity issue.
Yeah, Representative Mannix brought up that notion that it wouldn't apply to counties per se.
Yeah, I'm just focused on the current.
Yeah,
status. I'm not.
but the only issue that came up was, all right, well, what about the product? It was the first time they came on our radar screen and I chatted with the city attorney about it. And he said, well, you know, SHA and URA hold some properties. How would it apply? Would it possibly exclude their properties?
What I'm trying to understand is, does this fix the city's problem? I understand there.
The city
Other
property,
things-
yeah, yes, our property, yes,
Great, okay,
yes, potentially not our partner agencies.
understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mark, while you're in the hot seat, why don't we, relating to
Never seen
making
that.
in-person voting on the date of an election, the standard method. You wanted us to watch that? Sign the rules, nothing's happening. 5701, that's a placeholder omnibus budget reconciliation bill. We're just waiting to see what posts out of that. And then finally 5702, same thing, placeholder fee ratification bills. We're watching to see what gets posted on that here next.
And that should be happening fairly soon if it's
Real
real
soon.
soon. Yeah.
Look for some this afternoon.
Okay.
First thing Monday.
Anything else, Justin?
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Anything from staff that you want to bring to our attention that we didn't discuss? Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you. Any updates on the payment in lieu of taxes legislation?
Yes, we chatted about that early on in the meeting. It appears that Rep. Anderson's bill is dead. We are working some other angles that aren't associated with a specific bill, but at this point, that bill appears to be dead.
Oh, that is very disappointing to hear. I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, let me know how I can support other efforts.
Will do. I wanted to talk for a minute about, and just kind of preview next week. I wanted to just make sure everybody has it on the radar screen about this issue with mobile crisis and the impending, what I think of as a catastrophe, but I'm hoping that I'm misunderstanding something. So we've asked our folks from Summit to be prepared to address that next week with us, and I'm hoping staff will be prepared to really talk to us about the impact of that situation and a path forward.
And so that next meeting will also be the last one as we wrap up this current
Right.
state session. So we'll bring back in our federal partners to talk about the status of some of the active grants we have and other things, as well as this issue with MCRT.
Just
And then-
for those who aren't tracking, basically the county is ending the contract because with our current, where we partner up mental health professionals and police officers, they're ending that because the law changed. So the funding stream doesn't support that anymore because of a change at the federal level. So I want to discuss that and figure out what the implications are. Is there a workaround? Where are we headed with that? Because that's a catastrophe. In my way of looking at it. Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Mayor. I would love to discuss it too. As you know, this is an issue near and dear to my heart. I will be out of town. If you're talking about discussing this at our very next legislative committee meeting next Friday, I will be unavailable. If there's, and I normally don't say, can you please postpone talking about something when I can be present, but this is something I'm really passionate about. And if we can delay even by a week after that, I'll be back in town. Anyway, it's just something that I'm really committed to and interested in. And if we could postpone it to a March 15 legislative committee meeting, that would be very meaningful.
Thank you. I'm not sure if, I'll check with staff and see if there's a timeliness issue. If there's not, I don't have any problem doing that. But I'm not sure if there's a timeliness issue or not, but we'll let you know via email. Where that stands. I don't know yet.
That's reasonable. Thank you.
Yep. What else do we have? Councilor Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor, for bringing up the topic. You read my mind. I saw the emails, and I think that I understand now where it's the summaries. I want to paraphrase to make sure I'm tracking it correctly. So our current mobile crisis units were the sworn officer with a mental health provider model that the counties had contracted through federal grants. And there's been a change at the federal level in terms of laws and rulemaking that those are going to go away or are gone. How soon, like, when does the rubber meet the road in terms of like, when are those vital programs gone?
I think your assessment and your understanding is accurate. The answer to the question is, Keith? April.
Okay, so there's like a month.
Yeah, so it's a crisis. It's a real time situation that just came upon us and is like,
Yeah, we just got those emails, so I appreciate you bringing it up, and I don't know that a week difference will make that much, and I can't recall when I'm supposed to fill back in for my colleague Linda, but yeah, I mean, like, I think there's two different types of models. I think you should have both in a perfect world where you have a sworn officer paired up at times with a mental health provider. I know that there's certainly a community desire to have the non-sworn officer model, but there are different roles, and losing any bandwidth is, like you said, a crisis. So, figuring out where we go next is going to be, that's just, oh my God.
Yeah, it's horrific. Councilor Nordick.
Yeah, I just want to say ditto to everything Councilor Phillips said. I have voted time and time again to support our behavioral health unit at SPD. I 100% agree. There are times when you absolutely need a sworn offer there for everybody's safety. And then there are times when you do not. So if I had to hazard a wild guess, I'm guessing this funding is going away because it still has police involved in it. And I'm suspecting that they want to direct funds towards purely civilian-based, no police involvement model. But we will know more in due time. But I just want to echo, I agree wholeheartedly that there is a need for both types of programs. It's always been about the right tool for the right job. So looking forward to next steps and further discussion.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, your assessment is accurate. It's about the sworn law enforcement involvement. They've made a change at the federal level based on, I believe, as I understand it, efforts of one of our own senators to go away from that model. I'm not sure it was intentional, but it's how it worked out. So that's what I want to get into is like, was this the intended outcome, or is this an unfortunate side effect of some really good intentions? So I want to just understand that more.
Okay.
So, all right. Is there anything else for the good of the order, Courtney?
No, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.